I'm Mary Ann Penneroth, but I think you know me. We had a different session early, like in June, and we probably had 12 people here then. So I'm glad we can do it via Zoom this time, so in case people have not been able to be here.
Yeah, we're behind the microphone.
I think you need to be here.
So if Zoom is gonna work.
Jim, this is going to be the same thing you already heard, but you're welcome to join us.
But I want to be entertained.
You want to be entertained? Okay, I'm going to sit down then. I usually wander when I speak, but I will sit down. So probably almost 18 months ago now, Pete Roden, Marge, Pam Dominguez, and I were a committee to look at the various emergency preparedness functions of Good Shepherd. And we worked closely with the sheriff's office. We spoke to our insurance agents. We reviewed other emergency preparedness plans that the different people in the diocese have done. I want to be clear because this question has come up before. This is an emergency preparedness plan. Like, what do we do in an immediate emergency in the church? It is not a disaster preparedness plan, like the building was razed by a tornado. That is a different plan, and that is still being formulated. Most importantly in that plan is to have a good stock of what we have in the building. We have done an inventory, but also how to back up all of the computer functions that we have, whether they be economic or spiritual. Where's our baptismal records, where's our wedding records, et cetera, et cetera. So that plan is still in development, but this is an emergency plan. Let's see where I am. And we're looking at this as a ministry, that we want to, you know, there's a lot of biblical sayings about being ready, being watchful. And we see this both as something that if we can learn various skills here, we can take them out into the community with us as well. So while some things may have a low probability of happening here, that doesn't mean you might not encounter something in your life that needs a response. And hopefully we will have more people prepared here that can take it out into the community. So the plan, which we've handed out a couple copies of, is basically organized into these three sections. There's a section that gives background and overview and sort of says why the different components are important. Then there is a section on actions one takes generically. So we needed an evacuation plan. We needed a plan for where to shelter if there was a tornado or other weather event while we were here at church. So if there was a fire, we need to be able to evacuate, that kind of thing. And then the last section really was developed as almost a training manual for people who were willing to join the church ministry and be responding to things. So it's specific responses to various kinds of emergencies that we might face. So basically, there are four types of emergencies that we are looking at and planning for. I can't see this, and I can't see that. So we have health and safety emergencies. We have weather emergencies. And we have fire and other hazards, like if there was a truck overturned out on Dry Creek, for example, or if we had a gas leak, that kind of thing. And then lastly, human-caused emergencies. We looked at, in the booklet, there is a sort of matrix of high probability, lower impact in terms of the number of people impacted, to low probability but very high impact. And we sort of, in doing that, really felt like we did it so that we could figure out what to focus on first. And it seemed like the most likely kind of an emergency we might have at this church would be a slip or fall, because that's the most common emergency everywhere, or some sort of a medical emergency. Of course, we are all sensitive to the ongoing issue of, it doesn't seem whether you're at a grocery store or you're at a park or you're at a school or you're at a church, there is some element of risk in terms of human-caused emergencies. And so that was a lot of our conversation with the police, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But next week, on the 29th, there is a person who is coming here, and he is going to, in a 75-minute block, is going to go over how to use an AED. The nice thing about an AED is it talks to you. And so it says, open it up, now do this, now do that, put the pads here. So even if you've never had training on an AED, if somebody is, non-responsive, you can't feel a pulse, pull out the AED and it will tell you exactly step by step what to do. And we have one of these hanging in the main hall, right to the left of the door. Into the sanctuary, sorry. As we go into the sanctuary. You will also see there a first aid kit. Also going, and this is your, standard first aid kit. I will say, thank you, Marge. When we started this process, we have one first aid kit in this building. It was in the kitchen and it had nothing in it.
Bare essentials.
Very, very, everybody had used the Band-Aids, so we
Empty
now,
wrappers were in there from Band-Aids.
So we now have these, one in the kitchen, one in the main hall, and we have one downstairs as well. So
And they have Narcan in them, should we
and they
need
have
it.
Narcan. So I guess everybody here knows what Narcan is. So we do have Narcan in there should, again, a person be non-responsive. We don't understand why. Perhaps we don't know them. The Narcan can be used without risk to that person. If they need it, it will work. If they don't need it, it doesn't do anything bad to them. Might give them a little racy heart, but other than that, it's not going to do anything bad to them.
And if you've never used Narcan, it's a nasal spray. All you have to do is put it in the nostril and squeeze, and that's it.
Yes, again,
It'll do
not
its
anything
thing.
that needs a lot of training.
And it's everywhere now.
Yeah.
They've come a long way
Yeah.
since there's a head shop, but yeah.
Right, and again, our thought is if we train people about Narcan and how to use Narcan, and then they're in some other environment and Narcan is available, they are able to use it, right? We also, when we went to a 2-day training on securing your church, safety and faith workshop that was run by the Arapahoe Sheriff's Office. And one of the trainings there, 20-minute training perhaps, was on using things to stop a bleed. So these kits have,
Say the thing again. Say what it is again.
it's to stop a bleed. So the kit,
Stop the bleed.
stop the bleed, because a person can bleed out pretty quickly. So again, in an emergency situation, this gives us an opportunity to wait for people to get to us. And basically, it is some surgical dressings, as well as some that have specially treated to clot quickly, and then has the scissors and gloves, and it has a tourniquet.
Military grade tourniquet. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But a military grade tourniquet, again, since I first took first aid 100 years ago, it used to be you don't use a tourniquet, right? Or only, and then you released it and all that sort of stuff. Now they say put it on, leave it on, let somebody come and take it off. You don't take it off once you put it on. So in any event, we have 2 of these, 3 of these?
Oh, we have 5 or 6.
We have
of them.
5 or 6 of these that we will put around the building. Yes.
The groups that used to,
Mm-hmm.
we told them that we have these things around.
We have not told them, but that is part of the plan, is
Okay,
to,
I'm thinking primarily of AA, you know, the groups.
Yeah,
that
there's a
are
kit
already-
sitting right above the first aid kit
Yeah,
downstairs,
I think we just need to.
but
tell
we
them
need to
that
let them know, yeah.
right. Again, that's part of the, it's in the plan,
Okay.
everyone who will need to be trained, but at this point, we really haven't started any training for anybody. Except on the 29th, he will go over the use of the AED, and he will have dummies to do CPR. We have 12 slots in terms of the number of people could actually work on a dummy, in groups. It's not 12 dummies. But if there are more people than that that are interested, they're welcome to come and sort of watch to see what you have to do. But the dummy will give you feedback in terms of, are you pushing hard
I
enough?
wonder if people from these outside groups could be notified about this thing on Sunday.
I think the thing on Sunday is just about full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're tapped
But
out.
yes, we are hoping, the sheriff's office has said that they will provide training for us as many times as we would like to have training provided. Again, this thing on the 29th sort of came up. Somebody in their neighborhood had gone to this and the man volunteered to come and do it here as well. And so it just came up as an opportunity for us, and so we grabbed
Is
it.
that Shelley's?
Yeah.
Yes. But we will, it's after the 10:30 service. There's gonna be a light lunch, and then it's 75-minute training. I think it's running outside on the,
You need to
TV.
sign up if you want to do
Yeah.
hands-on.
I know. Well, we've advertised it two ways, one way at 12 and one way at 11:45, so it's one or the other.
well, I think it's after the service, and people will probably get coffee, yada, yada. I don't know about the certification piece. Shelley Hitt may know.
I'll contact her.
Okay. Because again, it was this person
Her
who
neighbors, yeah.
does it in her neighborhood, has been doing them all summer, then goes to Arizona for the winter. This is the weekend he could do it. So he's here, he's gonna do it, and he's taking off. And then somehow it's through his pickle game club. Pickleball
Yeah,
group,
yeah.
his pickleball group does it. You will also see around everywhere we have the first aid kits and stuff, something like this, it's in red, and it has emergency numbers, Gary's number, that kind of thing. So if you were in a room and trying to reach out, there's that kind of information there as well. Obviously, 911 is the primary number people need. So these are the different emergency things that we got. Again, our focus primarily on the possibility of, some sort of a medical emergency, be it a heart attack, a stroke, somebody falling and hurting themselves. And, an awareness at least about allergies, so that we might recognize we don't have, EpiPens or anything, but an awareness of if somebody seems to be having difficulty, the need to call 911, those kinds of things. So what we are hoping is that we can get enough volunteers that we could have 3 or 4 people each Sunday, so you do it maybe once a month, that would say, I will be at this service, I will be on the team, I will be alert and watchful.
Where are the fire extinguishers? I see there's one.
We have maps, whoops, like this, that show where all the fire extinguishers, whoops, I could do it right side up, that show where all the fire extinguishers are. The fire extinguishers here are these red dots. So we actually have quite a few of them.
They are near the exterior doors.
They are near exterior doors, but they're also right here across the hall, there's one.
Yeah.
It's funny when you know that they're there, like I walked past that one directly outside this door and have never seen it. But it is there,
Maybe that could be posted like that, red thing.
yes. And then this is the downstairs
I'm a
one,
visual person, if I'm
Right.
hunting for a fire extinguisher, I could look.
right.
That would-
This is the downstairs one as well. And the little green dots there are places that the police have said if you needed to shelter from a storm or you needed to shelter from an outside intruder, that those were good locations. So the sheriff's office walked the building with us. They came back afterwards at night, and they looked at all of our lighting, they looked at all of our cameras. They were really very thorough and spent quite a bit of time with us. And then sent us a report and helped us highlight which things we might want buildings or grounds to address first. Some of the things are very simple, cutting back, things that people can hide behind, basically, keeping trees trimmed up 6 feet from the ground, that kind of thing. And then other things, all the way through things that could be quite expensive.
They were really impressed with our camera system.
Yes. Do you want to show the camera system? Or should we go
Let's
through
do
this
it at
first?
the end. Let's do it
Okay.
at the end. But we have 16 cameras throughout the building and outside. And they asked if they could use our church as an example for other churches or buildings that are wanting to put in camera systems. So they were very impressed with it.
It's taken so long to put all of this in place.
Yeah, we, again, thank you, Marge. We now have walkie-talkies that we could communicate with the nursery, we could communicate with the people downstairs if there was some sort of an emergency up here to say, keep the kids inside, pull them into the classrooms, do whatever, or evacuate. Obviously, if there was a fire alarm going off, they would know to evacuate, but often in these situations, we don't want a fire alarm going off. And so this would enable us to communicate with them. Again, training has not yet been done because we really need this core team of people. So one of the functions of the core team of people would be to have the walkie-talkie to communicate down to the nursery and to
So the
the,
person whose Sunday that is, they would know about this and have that.
we would have to train them. So my hope would be to train all the ushers, train people on the ministry, and train people who are staff. And then that would give us a core of people that we would be pretty sure somebody was here, on a given day in a given emergency. With the cameras, one of the issues is we have these wonderful cameras. No one's looking at the feed from the wonderful camera. They are set so that if something happens, you can go back and you can look, like a door was left open, we could go back and look and see who left the door open. We had a Boy Scout troop that was here and they were propping the door and then they didn't close it. So we were able to say, hey, Boy Scouts, please make sure. So you can do that after the fact. What the police recommended, sheriff's office recommended, was having somebody during the service watching the cameras. And again, that would just be a job, if you will, of somebody who was on the team that day. And, the goal really would be, the cameras of concern while we're in worshiping would be the ones out to the parking lot. One option is to lock the door. We didn't feel very comfortable locking the door on Sunday morning as people are coming in late or whatever. But if somebody was watching a camera and saw something that didn't look right, they could lock the door at that point and then, be watchful. So it is, again, a training that would need to take place. But all the pieces needed to be in place first. And, the trainings will happen, I assume, all year because it's going to take a while to get through.
All the vestry should be hearing all of this.
Well, yeah.
Right, we
I was gonna
have-
ask, I don't even know how to lock the door from the inside.
We have,
I'll show you.
Okay.
right.
Afterwards, I'll show you.
And we're looking at different locking mechanisms for different locations. We've spoken to buildings and grounds for interior doors. I think it's coming up pretty soon.
If you noticed also, the doors now have numbers on them.
I told you yesterday, I know.
And the reason for that is, we were advised to by the sheriff's department, in case somebody has an emergency, they're in a particular room, they call 911, they're gonna ask for the location. They could at least tell them, I'm in room 8 upstairs. Kathy has a list of all the door numbers, and the sheriff's department will have that also.
And the sheriff's department asked us how to number the doors on the outside. So again, you can say there's a fire near your door at 6 or whatever. You'll notice at any school, if you go to any school, they have large numbers over every door. And again, they were put up for emergency reasons. I have to say, as a parent picking up kids at a high school, it's nice to know you're at door 15. And I'm not driving around the outside of the building trying to find my child, right? So again, the sheriff's office asked for their purposes, even if we don't say anything, they can communicate with each other about, I've got door 6 covered, I'm doing door 5, it just helps them organize their people instead of the northwest corner of the,
There's 3
And
doors.
they recommended it to be on the bottom, because I noticed on the numbers.
Yeah, for the inside, if there were a fire and smoke, you wouldn't be able to see. And most people would be lowered to the ground, so they are near the bottom of the doors.
we have a lot of doors, as you can
Yes,
see.
we do.
This is the new language that the sheriff's office has asked us to use. New only to those people who have been in schools using different language. The rest of you probably never had a specific language. But basically, hold just means there's something going on. It may be, again, we've had a medical incident in the sanctuary. We don't want them bringing the kids in right this minute. So we would say to the nursery and the Sunday school on the walkie-talkie, please hold the kids. It's a pretty natural thing to say. It just means go in your classroom, go in your room, close the door. Don't be walking around in the hallways until we tell you so. But other than that, you can go ahead and continue coloring. You can do whatever you've been doing. Hold just means stay there, right? Secure, you're gonna lock the outside doors, basically, that there's something, an external threat possibly on the outside. So let's lock the outside doors. All of our doors are locked except the sanctuary door and sometimes the kitchen door, depending on who's been coming in and out on a Sunday morning. But the rest of the doors should already be locked. So really, it's just the 2 main things. The other thing the sheriff's office told us is very rarely has there been a situation, almost never, where people haven't come in through the front door. There's just a tendency, and our parking lot is very well designed, accidentally or not, that it's not easy to like ram it with a car or something, just because of the way that it's set up and the way we're set up from the front, from Dry Creek. There is no, easy way. And it's, well, just, there's not a straight line, right? At my old church, they had parking right up against the building, and somebody got in on Sunday morning and drove their car accidentally into the building, just because they hit the gas but we don't have a space like that. This is, our parking isn't organized in that way. And even like an accidental thing from Dry Creek, it would be hard to get all the way up to the building, right? They might come up to the sign or something, but it would be hard to get all the way to the building. A lockdown is what we've all heard about, basically getting in, turning lights off, getting out of the line of vision, keeping the door locked until an officer of the law comes and unlocks the door. So once that door is locked, you're not peeking out to see what's going on. And then evacuation, we are recommending 2 locations. One location, like where the picnic was, over by the sidewalk in the side front of the church. That way, I guess. Where am I?
Picnic would be up.
The picnic was over there. By the fence, by the sidewalk, right? So if there's a fire, you want to get away from the building, but we want a gathering place, or back by where the compost and the trash things are, back in that corner. So on our grounds, going in 2 different directions, depending on which door you're at, et cetera. We've never had a fire drill. It is something that there's mixed opinion about whether or not you should have a fire drill in a location like a church. just because of the logistics of doing it. I leave it to Gary to decide whether on some Sunday morning we want to say, we're gonna walk out through the front, through the only exit that is other than the big exit. There is only one exit up by the front, if you're facing the church, to the right, facing the altar to the right, right?
Goes out to the patio.
Goes out to the patio, and then you would go out to where I said, if you were in that location. The kids downstairs have an exit of their own, so they can get out. The kids in the nursery can get out a different way. So there are different locations depending on where you happen to be. But mainly, we would have, say, 100 people who would need to get out through that one small door, many of whom are mobility challenged, and it slants. So that's part of the reason they're like, I don't know whether you want to put everybody through this, but it is something that as we work on this safety ministry, we would need people guiding people. Now, again, that would only be if you couldn't exit through the main doors, right?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And in most situations, you would be exiting through the main doors.
And when you say the main doors, is this one in the kitchen?
No, yes, but I just mean from the sanctuary, you would be exiting from the main sanctuary doors.
Fire might be, right, so.
Right,
You could still go out the sanctuary doors.
There's
down
a
the hall,
second door to the
and then-
sanctuary that actually is closer to this patio door, and then there's the main sanctuary doors that open towards the front door. And then there's the
Right.
front, to that front door, so there's actually 3 exits. But if there was something in the hall or the kitchen.
if there's something in the hall by the
You'd
kitchen,
have to go out-
you'd have to go out that
door.
front, that one side door.
Yeah, but you could come out this way too, come out of the sanctuary, come down this hall and head out that door, right there.
Right,
If the fire was on that end of the building.
right. So again,
Just, you know where it is.
you're looking at
Yeah.
what's the risk, what's the likelihood, where is it, all of those kinds of things. I think during COVID, we had concerns because there's no way to cross-ventilate the sanctuary, right? There's, so anyhow, we said to Building and Grounds, a thing to consider would be another door from the sanctuary. We're gonna leave it at that. There are grants available to do big things that are safety related, but Buildings and Grounds would have to make some sort of determination about whether they even want us to look into those. They come up pretty quickly, so we would look at them soon. I think in terms of, we have had the police, in order to apply for any of those grants, you have to have this evaluation done by the Sheriff's Department. We've already had that evaluation done. So this is the map we were just talking about where everything is. Everywhere there is so there are first aid kits everywhere there's a AED. There's not an AED everywhere there's a first aid kit. They look kind of the same on this map. We have a lot of fire extinguishers. We have a number of first aid kits at this point. Again, Marge really took that on very early. So those are there and available, as well as these signs. That's downstairs. Again, it was like, oh, well, we might need a first aid kit downstairs, maybe more than anywhere else. We might need, these different tools. The downstairs is a great place to lock down if one needed to lock down, or shelter from a storm, but we have a lot of people who can't get downstairs. So it was important to locate, all of the offices are good places. The kitchen is actually a good place. The kitchen is a good place from an outside intruder standpoint because you can lock the door to the fellowship hall and you can exit, right? It has the advantage of having an exit out of it. So you didn't used to be able to lock the door, but again, Marge has now made it possible. So you can lock the door between the parish hall and the kitchen. And there's always the pantry, and there's just a lot of spaces in there where you could get out of the line of sight. And you could leave. Similarly, this room is a location where you can get out of the line of sight and you have exits. But there are, most of the rooms, you do not have a second exit, but in terms of a storm or something, it's a better location.
I'm surprised the tunnel is not a safety location.
The tunnel,
It
I mean,
doesn't have an exit except for the one, but it's for a storm or tornadoes, that's. what-
right, anything in the basement really, like the classrooms are probably just as good as the tunnel. But the tunnel has a lot of stuff in it, I don't know.
It's kind of packed.
Yeah, and you can't fit that many people in there comfortably.
Tunnel having squinched through to try to find things in there. You know, again, we have a great camera system that was put in over the last 3 years. And it does provide great line of sight around the outside, as well as some locations on the inside. It's all targeted towards doors. And then there are these locks that you may have seen if you stayed in a hotel recently. They're replacing chain locks on a lot of hotel room doors. It's on the door jamb and you just flip it
Yes.
across. And so it takes 1 second to flip it across, and they hold like 18 pounds of pressure. So if somebody was 800 pounds of pressure, if someone was trying to push in, they would not be able to push in. And yet it's an easy lock. You don't have to worry about who has a key, I can't find the key, etc. Again, trimming the trees and the bushes is a simple thing. And then the numbers on the doors were, so these were 4 of the main recommendations made by the police. They say that they will be here within 5 minutes. So a lot of the conversation with the police in terms of outside threat was being able to hold your own for 5 minutes. Locking the door. They were very impressed with our new red door at the front door. They love the door. It's whatever it is, it's what they would want it to be. Many of our doors have, you can see there, sort of wire in the window that you may never have noticed, but that will hold against even gunfire for a few minutes. So that is something that they, now I don't know all gunfire because things are crazy, but it should hold. It will definitely hold against any kind of battering. And we have that kind of glass in many, many windows. There are a few windows down towards the patio on that main hallway that don't have anything in them. They're large windows. There is a film that you can put on those windows, again, to hold against battering bullets, they say. It's expensive. It has to be professionally put in. It's on the list we gave to Buildings and Grounds, but again, the police said more likely a threat would come from the parking lot. So it's like constantly weighing risk, likelihood, and cost, right? Which is what everybody is doing. The sheriff's office is available to do training for CPR, do training for AEDs, do training, if we wanted it, they will do what they call a tabletop exercise, where they will come and talk to the people who are on the ministry team and say, okay, here's this emergency, how would you respond? Here's this emergency, how would you respond? This is the circumstance. And they will come and do those kind of tabletop trainings if we want to have them. They, of course, have volunteered to do this for everybody. So we have to, kind of make a schedule of when we want. But again, my first step is trying to get this ministry team together so we can identify who we might want to have trained. And the upcoming training right now is on the 29th. There will be more training coming. And again, we're calling this a safety team ministry because we do in fact see it as a ministry. And these would be the things that we would expect them to do. Primarily be aware, and like again, somebody has to take the first step, right? Somebody has to say, okay, this is an emergency, let's move forward. So we had a couple people who were sort of focused on that. Then I think we have a lot of people in this congregation who are former nurses, former military, former teachers. And teachers, unfortunately, have been doing this kind of training since 2000, right? Since 1999. And so, you know, people will move into action. The concern is that everybody waits for somebody else to move. If there's nobody designated as it's your turn this week. You want to do the camera system? And I'll give these little things out while we are. So we have emergency contact cards, not for ourselves, but this you can fill out, put into your wallet. It helps people, you can fold it up and put it into your wallet, and if you have an emergency, people can find your emergency contact numbers.
Show up there.
The bottom half, you can
Was
post
the
your
church
mouse.
consider doing this and keeping everybody's emergency contact somewhere?
We
Or
have,
no?
well,
Is that too personal?
we contemplated having that,
Yeah.
like you do again in a school. We were uncertain where we would keep it and who would have access to it, and, but, and we were ready to go, and then it was like, wait, where is it gonna live? Who's gonna have access to it? I mean, it doesn't have to have really, I guess, depends on what people consider to be personal information. I have no problem saying I have a bee allergy. I carry it every day, right?
Okay.
Please, you know, now I only carry my EpiPen when I'm coming to the picnic, I don't carry it.
Well, the parish office should have contact information for,
Well, we have what's in the,
or not beyond, I mean, less than the directory.
right, we have what's in the directory. I don't think we have anything that asks for who's your emergency contact.
Yeah, or
You know,
what-
I will again tell you on a personal responsibility level, I wear one of these on my watch, not because of the bee allergy, it's from something called Road ID. You can put it on your shoe, I like it on my watch, you can get a separate band, but it has my emergency contact and it has a telephone number to call, tells you to take this off, look on the back, it'll give you a PIN number. And the PIN number tells the person you call all of my medical history. So
Wow.
I do it because I hike. And so rescuers would be able to immediately,
Not either.
you know, get my medical history. I'm allergic to a lot of kinds of things. And so, but I got it just from the same, like it's got my daughter's telephone number on it. And, you know, so mine
That's
says,
what I wanted.
my name, Highlands Ranch, my daughter's telephone number, my son-in-law's telephone number, and for medical information, call, and has that telephone number.
Is that the road ID thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the back,
Road, ROAD, road ID,
road.
you know, and
Yeah.
it's for cyclists and, you know,
That
athletes, so
should
they
be
can
major, I've never heard of it.
fall over on the side of the road, they can get all sorts of information. about
Right,
you.
so it's mainly, yes, hikers, cyclists, runners,
You have one.
but,
That makes sense.
you know-
But our kids are all over the country, mine
Well,
Right.
if you're out and about, maybe don't have your
are. Yeah.
wallet
Right.
with you.
Or you left the phone at home or whatever.
well,
They should
inevitably,
always carry their ID anyway, their license on
But
it.
that's a way to keep.
But this has- I mean, my ID wouldn't tell you who to call,
No,
right?
That's true.
Right.
Or my medical history for that matter. So here are our cameras.
Make that available, talk about making that available to the whole parish, that information about that,
Okay,
please.
here, so this is live at the moment.
Yeah, this is the west hallway down where the admin offices are.
Oh, okay, that's a copy room right there to the left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
It doesn't,
This site, we need a camera, security camera coordinator. Right now, there are 3 of us that can access this, and it's with myself and David McClary. And we do check them periodically, not just when something
Right.
comes up. But,
We did have a situation in terms of the police response, while she's looking for that. We had a situation where somebody was out at night at our storage shed, and the neighbor's dog barked, and he called 911. And on the cameras, we could see the police siren, we could hear the police sirens going, we could see the people take off, we could see the police arrive, and they were here very quickly.
you see, this is the basement hallway, the second one.
Somebody's
Parking
in the
lot.
church, yeah. Oh, they're in the booth getting ready for
Yeah.
the service.
Look at that.
There's the exit to the north doors. Again, the parking lot. Yeah, they're getting ready in the booth for the service. This is outside on the patio. The hallway in the narthex there. This is the AA door,
A door, what is that?
the side door right here. This is where AA group comes in.
They come in, they come around the church in the morning. That's why it's important that you walk shovel with his nose, because they come around and go downstairs.
This is the front door, where we could see who left the building last and who might not have locked the door. This one is useful for Kathy. If she's in the building by herself, she can have this pulled up and can see people coming in. This is the east hallway going down towards the bathrooms. This is this hallway right out here. Again, parking lot. The library area. And then this is the basement, the door, the exit door to the basement. And these are continuously reporting. So if something happened 3 hours ago, I can go back and look at the timeline and pull up and see whoever entered or exited the building, or if maybe there was an animal that caused the camera
Yeah.
to pick it up.
You and David.
How long does it
Whit
look?
could
And
do it.
yeah,
How long is the loop?
30 days?
it keeps it on for 28 days.
For
Yeah.
weeks, okay.
And we have a room downstairs locked, and it's got all the racks in there with the hard drives that keep this up to date.
But we really do need a safety camera coordinator. Because there are updates, again, the police in the, how much do you want to spend? You could spend a lot. They love the cameras that we have. There is software that can be used to do facial recognition. There is software that can be used to do weapon recognition. There is software that can be used for various things.
And we actually have the cameras available that will do this, but it's a matter of purchasing the software.
Right.
And we don't really need that.
And we
That-
don't need it.
If something happened, our tapes could be